Welcome to the Drumdums 2000 subscriber question and answer. Let's get it on. Okay, what's up guys? It's been about a month, I think, since I recorded my 2000 subscriber question and answer announcement. So I figured, hey, I got an open spot here. I might as well go ahead and try to answer the questions. I'm gonna try to answer all your questions. I love my subscribers that much. I owe each and every one of you answers to your questions. So I'm just gonna go through all the questions that you guys gave me on this particular video. And I believe in one of my recent videos, you guys asked me a couple more questions. So yeah, I'm gonna answer those too. So anyway, let's go ahead and get right into this. Okay, first question is from Mariana from Impression Blend. So she wants to know if I remember the first movie I ever bought. I remember the first DVD I ever bought. That was for The Matrix. And the first Blu-ray I ever bought, I think, was for Final Fantasy Spirits Within. And VHS, I wish I could remember what that was. I want to say it was the Star Wars Special Edition trilogy, the gold box. Yeah, so those. Okay, next question is from, I hope I'm saying this right, I think it's Tashi's or Nashi's Movie Corner. And he wants to know what my top 10 superhero movies are. And that's gonna be this right here. Conveniently, I actually created a top 10 list on my Letterboxd account. So what you see is my current top 10, but it's really a tough question to ask because it changes from time to time. So take that list with a grain of salt. Okay, next question is from Nocturnal Toothbrush, and he wants to know what my first rated R horror movie was, or if I remember it. I believe it was Friday the 13th Part 3. I've actually told this story a few times throughout some of my videos. But that was really the first movie that really scared me to death too. Now, if you imagine, I think I was around like 9, 10 years old when I watched it, and I remember I was having a sleepover with my cousin, and I just had my hands over my eyes the whole time. I was really, really petrified. Okay, my next set of questions is from my good buddy Tim from the Late Reviews. He always asks great questions. First one is, he would like me to show you guys how I prepare for a review, and I've already done my homework on this. I actually recorded a video recently that I'll put a card here, and you can see my entire process from start to finish. And it was for my new Nightmare review. I kind of went behind the scenes and showed you guys what I did in that whole process. So click on that and enjoy it after you watch this Q&A. And he's got a couple drum questions here. What is my favorite drum riff to play? And can you play it for us? I created a separate video, so go ahead and check this out. But before I get into it, I don't have a particular set of riffs that I play. I do like to do a lot of the fills, I guess you could call them, you know, with the 2 at the bottom and 2 up top or 4 up top. You'll see in the demonstration what I'm talking about. His next question is, aside from Kate Beckinsale, who is another celebrity crush? Oh, wow. I'm sure there's quite a few of them. You know, I remember when I was young, one of my biggest was Jamie Lee Curtis. And I also liked Linda Blair, actually. Not the Linda Blair from The Exorcist, of course, but when she had matured. Where do you sit in a movie theater? I usually sit really close to the back. And I prefer to sit in the middle, but sometimes I sit on the side, but definitely in the back. I do not like sitting in the front. And just to share a quick story for you, I remember seeing Terminator 2 in the theater back in '91, opening night, and I showed up late, and I ended up sitting on the floor in front of the first row with my date. And that was not fun. And I still enjoyed the movie, but yeah, I don't like sitting in the front. And the next question is, what is a crossover that hasn't happened but I really want to see? And I think this one's a pretty easy one for me. I would be interested in a Michael versus Jason movie, or even a Michael versus Pinhead. That would be kind of interesting. It might be horrible. You know, it's tough to execute a pairing really with anybody with Michael, because Michael is really so unique as a slasher in my mind. But yeah, I'd be there opening night. Okay, next question is from Adriana. Do you like reading, and if so, what kind of genre? I really enjoy those musical biography type books. Those are really interesting to me. I read the biography of Gene Simmons quite a few years ago, and I couldn't put it down. That one was really interesting. But for the most part, I like nonfiction type stuff. That really interests me. Also, I'm kind of a sucker for anything that's behind the scenes involving movies or music. I love that type stuff. Next question, David Cronenberg, Terry Gilliam, and Neil Jordan are my favorite directors. What is your opinion on them? Big fan of Cronenberg. I like Cronenberg because he really goes for the jugular. He doesn't hold back in his directing. And I like that, especially like The Fly. The Fly had some pretty gruesome stuff in it, but he always has something in his movies that's really kind of out of left field or makes you cringe. Terry Gilliam, I remember watching Time Bandits when I was a kid, and I loved that movie. I don't really watch any of his later movies that much, but I do respect him as a director. He's another one of those directors that really has his own signature to his movies, and I appreciate that. And finally, Neil Jordan. I loved Interview with the Vampire. To me, it's one of the best vampire movies out there. I don't know if I've seen any of his other movies. I might have, and I just didn't realize he directed them, so yeah. And next question, what is your favorite classic Hollywood actor or actress? I gotta go with Clint Eastwood for classic. And I don't like all his movies, but Unforgiven is one of my favorite movies. I grew up a big Stallone fan, even though I know he's not the greatest actor out there, but he is like my childhood. As far as actresses go, I really like Jessica Chastain, Rooney Mara, and I really enjoyed a lot of Jodie Foster's early work. Okay, next questions are from Dylan Flickinger. He says, pitch a movie on a children's book. It can be something that you grew up with or maybe you remember. The one children's book that I really remember, aside from Dr. Seuss, is Where the Red Fern Grows. That one really left a mark on me. It's just gut-wrenching. And it was a great book, but I didn't want to read it again because it made me cry when I was a kid and I felt horrible. Next question, if you were accepted into S.H.I.E.L.D. By passing the test, would you join and what powers would you have? That'd be pretty damn cool. I was actually an extra in the Avengers. I don't know if I've ever shared that with you guys, and I actually was a S.H.I.E.L.D. guard. So your question is right on time, Dylan. But yeah, of course, that'd be freaking awesome being a S.H.I.E.L.D. guard. And as far as powers, that's a tough question. Like, that's one of the biggest universal questions for people is what power would you like to have? And I don't know the answer to that. That's a tough one because every power has something unique about them that's just great, and you can't have all of them. But I guess the biggest one would be, power of the mind. I'd like to be extremely smart, I guess you could say. Next question, what is an underrated independent film that you would recommend to everyone? I've harped this one quite a few times, actually. Short Term 12, and that's just a movie that I don't think very many people have seen, with Brie Larson, and very, very powerful movie. I would definitely recommend that, but it's hard for me to think of all the independent films that I've seen, but there's been so many great ones. But yeah, that one's the first one that really comes to mind. That's my knee-jerk reaction. Okay, next question is from WWE Fan 0599. I just did a little interview with him. He interviewed me on his channel a couple weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun. But anyway, first question is, would you love to see a Batman vs. Punisher movie? I personally think it would be awesome. Yeah, I would definitely watch that. I think that would be really awesome. Do you love video games? If so, you should definitely play the Uncharted series and The Last of Us. I've heard about those games. I've heard they're really popular. I don't really have the time to play video games these days, but I grew up playing Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers, and I even played Atari when I was little. And I used to love those games. Do you like wrestling? If so, who's your favorite wrestler? I tell you, when I was pretty young, I remember there was a phase there where I was into wrestling, and this was during the whole Hulk Hogan era and Andre the Giant, and I always really looked up to those guys, I guess literally, but yeah, those probably would be my favorite wrestlers, especially Andre the Giant. There's a documentary on Andre the Giant that was really interesting I watched recently. Definitely check that one out. Next question is from Bram SL11. I have a weird font, so sometimes it messes up my L's and my I's, so I apologize if I'm getting this wrong. But he asks, has there been a movie that you just couldn't finish watching or for whatever reason? I usually try to finish every movie that I watch, and I don't want to use being tired as an excuse. As far as a movie that I just couldn't watch because it's just painfully bad, The Crow Wicked Prayer. I remember I had to turn that one off in the middle. It's just that bad. Next question is from Mike Mechek, M-E-C-E-K, and he says, where do you find the time? That is a good question. Oh my God, my days are filled to the brim, especially since I started YouTube. I'm constantly busy, but I'm enjoying it. I will say one thing that helps me with time is staying energetic. And I try to exercise a lot, especially on the weekends. I'll try to get some runs in, and I try to drink a lot of water. The Lawn Gnome asked, with Ben Affleck directing the next Batman movie, what story do you think he will choose? That's a tough one for me to answer because I don't read the comics, and I don't know all the Batman storylines, except for Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, which is excellent. And there were aspects of that in Batman v Superman. So I definitely don't want him to do an origin story. I can tell you that. Okay, Silver Shamrock, he asked, favorite movie poster. That's probably gonna be my Michael Myers from Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I really like that one. I also like my Empire Strikes Back, which is kind of buried back here. It's right there. But yeah, I like that one too. Favorite biopic. That's a tough one because there's a lot of great ones, but I would say Control, which is about Ian Curtis from Joy Division. That is a great biopic. Who do you consider to be the most versatile actor or actress? Definitely Daniel Day-Lewis. I think Daniel Day-Lewis is like unmatched in acting range. Also, I would say Ben Kingsley. He's one of those that's really underrated, and I would recommend checking out Sexy Beast, which is directed by the same director who did Under the Skin. You talk about one of the greatest characters ever created on screen. In my mind, as a villain, it would be Don Logan from Sexy Beast. So Ben Kingsley, yes. Next question, what actor or actress do you consider to be underrated? Well, I just said Ben Kingsley, that's funny. What is one movie you would watch every day, or could watch every day? To be honest, I don't think I could watch the same movie every day. I mean, I always say Halloween is my favorite movie, and I definitely watch that one at least once, sometimes twice a year. But it would be tough for me to watch the same movie every day, to be honest. Favorite Tarantino movie, Pulp Fiction. What are some movies you wish you could have directed? Oh wow, I guess I'd have to pick, like a horror movie that's probably bad, and I think maybe I could do a better job at it, even though I probably couldn't. Oh no, I remember. Fantastic Four, the reboot. I think I could probably do a better job. I'm just kidding. There's no way I could do a better job, even though I hate that movie. If you could play a character from a movie, who would you play and from what movie? Yeah, I think I would want to play Batman. I would want to play Batman. Least favorite Blu-ray in your collection? Well, it was definitely Twilight. I actually bought Twilight when it first came out, and I sold it quite a few months ago. So yeah, that would be my least favorite. It's not in my collection anymore. What is one movie that you don't have in your collection that you must own someday? I'm sure there's got to be one. Probably 2001 or A Clockwork Orange, just because I respect Stanley Kubrick so much. Who are some actors or actresses you would like to see win an Oscar someday for their acting? That's a tough one because a lot of actors that I like have already won Oscars. I really was gutted when Stallone didn't win for Creed. I think he deserved that. I mean, that is such a great performance. Okay, next question is from Alexandra Vaughn, who just bought this same mic, and she gave me a shout out, so thank you, Alexandra. But she was asking about my first review that I never released, and it was the Godzilla review, and I got scared to death, and I didn't do a review for 6 months, which was Predestination. And I will look and see if I can find that Godzilla review, because I do save a lot of my stuff, so I'll look and see if I can find it and I'll upload it, but I don't think I still have it. Next question is, what is your dream job? Is it YouTube? Absolutely. I'm gonna be honest. I would love to be able to get up every day and do a movie review and edit it and, send it off to you guys and be paid for it. That would be freaking awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that's everybody's dream that really does this and takes it seriously. Yeah, that's the dream, to eventually do it, and not have to answer to anybody else. What are your top 3 movies of all time? Well, number 1's definitely Halloween. Number 2 and 3 is where it gets tough. I think The Thing is number 2. And I think The Crow is number 3, but The Crow could be number 2 and The Thing could be number 3. So yeah, but those 3 are definitely worthy contenders. What's one thing on your bucket list? Actually filming a movie review was on my bucket list, and here I am over 300 videos later. So yeah, that was one of them. But skydiving would be cool. Next question is from Maurice That Beast Vlogs, and he asked, have you ever thought about becoming an actor or filmmaker, such as a director, writer, or producer? I have definitely thought about directing, and since I started doing this, it's kind of opened my eyes to how, you know, the editing process goes and how to put a movie together. So I've definitely thought about that, but I'm still scared to death to do it. But yeah, I would definitely want to direct and produce. That would be awesome. Okay, next question is from the very, very intelligent Ian Bulaklak. And Ian is one of these guys that I constantly see talking about film. You can tell he's the real deal. He loves movies. He loves film. He loves talking about movies. And he's a good friend. But he asked, are there any upcoming concerts you might be attending this summer? I was definitely considering going to the next Rockville. I went to the one last year. But the band list this year, either I've seen some of the bands or I'm just not as interested. And when you go to Rockville, it's a 2-day festival, you are exhausted by the end of it. So it's got to be a really good band for me to want to go see. But recently I did go see Tool. I did a video on that actually. And then I did, before that I saw Pucifer in Atlanta, which is Maynard James Keenan, who's also in Tool. And both concerts were just amazing, amazing. Do you like director David Cronenberg? Well, yeah, I answered that one earlier. Yeah, I definitely like David Cronenberg. What is your favorite film from him? I haven't seen all of his films. The obvious choice for me would be The Fly. I really love The Fly, but I also like History of Violence. That one was really good. And there's some movies of his that I haven't seen yet. Some of his earlier ones, like I believe Videodrome. So yeah, I'd like to check out some of those. Are there any horror movies that you find underrated that more people need to check out? That is a tough one. I would definitely say The Descent, although I'm sure if you're a horror fan, you've probably seen The Descent, but that's one that I really love. Night of the Creeps is another really good one. It's a good zombie film that I don't hear talked about that much, that came out in the 80s with Tom Atkins. Definitely check that one out if you haven't. Next question is from 007 Drax Gomez. Who would you like to star as the Punisher in a upcoming movie? John Bernthal, definitely. And which are your 3 favorite Bond movies? I definitely liked Casino Royale, and I'm a big fan of the Sean Connery era, so Goldfinger is definitely a great one, and also Goldeneye with Pierce Brosnan. Okay, next question is from M4 Movies, and he asks, what are your pro sports teams? I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a sports guy, I'm not a football guy. I do play basketball. I used to play basketball all the time, but yeah, I don't really have a favorite team except for college. Football would be Alabama because my father is a massive Alabama fan and he would kill me if I didn't say that. So yeah, Alabama Crimson Tide, Roll Tide. Next question is from Justin's Movies and Games, and he says, have you seen the TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Of course, yeah, I've watched every season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. As a matter of fact, my wife is a huge Buffy fan. And do you like Sony? Yes, I do. I have a Sony TV. I think this is a Sony lavalier mic. So yeah, I definitely like Sony. Do you like anime? I haven't watched much anime. My son is a massive anime fan. Oh my God, he is like an expert on anime. And do you have a favorite Hanna-Barbera cartoon? I used to watch a lot of those cartoons when I was growing up. And I guess I'd go with the old tried and true Bugs Bunny. I think Bugs Bunny was Hanna-Barbera. Okay, next question is from Shelby Gregory. What is your favorite concert experience you've had so far? I've been to a lot of great concerts, a ton of bands. Definitely Tool, just because Tool's my favorite band. I've seen them 4 times. So their first concert was probably the best that I've seen them. I also saw, I just have to mention this, I saw Metallica and Guns N' Roses in concert back in 1992 at Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado, and that was freaking epic. Okay, next question is from Bearded Movie Guy, my good buddy Pete. He wants to know, if you could only see Civil War or Suicide Squad, which would it be? Probably Civil War. Even though I'm a DC guy, I gotta see Civil War. Name one movie that you hate the most that people love. Wow, that's a tough one. Well, you know, I just did a review for Highlander and I was not a big fan, and I know a lot of people love Highlander, so I guess that would be my pick. Bale or Affleck for the better Batman Bruce Wayne? That's a tough one, but I think Affleck has a slight edge on what I've seen so far. As far as action goes, I think he was a great Batman. And honestly, I wasn't a big fan of Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne. And his last one is, do you wake up in cold sweats at night screaming Bryan Lomax's name? Every single night. Okay, next question is from Raphael F. And he says, do you even lift, bro? Not lately. Do you like Pink Floyd? Yeah, I like Pink Floyd. Some would say that Tool is like the modern day version of Pink Floyd. But yeah, their live shows I hear are amazing. And favorite animated film? I'm glad you asked, because that would be The Emperor's New Groove. Okay, Rob the movie reviewer says, do you have a job between making videos or do you do this full time? No, I do not do this full time. I have a job. I work in construction. I recently retired from the military after 24 years. So I kind of got a job doing what I did while I was in the military. Next question is from Linda Means, and she says, do you like Keith Sweat music? Yeah, I like Keith Sweat music. I used to listen to Keith Sweat back in the day. Next question is from The Mober. He says, will you do more reviews on horror movies? Hell yeah. I freaking love horror movies. Matter of fact, I'm finishing up my Nightmare on Elm Street reviews right now. Horror is my bread and butter, you know. I say horror is really what got me where I am in my channel. If I didn't love horror like I did, I don't think I would do as well, because, you know, I think when you review movies, you have to really enjoy what you're talking about. And just to go a little further on that, I think if you get into the act of only doing new release movies, it will get stale and you will get bored with it. And yeah, you could be successful, but I think you got to really enjoy what you're doing. I truly believe that. Next question is from Jordan Miller. He says, what is your favorite video you have ever done? That is a good question. I'm glad you asked that one. Recently, I was in this huge Crow mood, and I did a review for the first Crow, which I really enjoyed. And then I did this musical cover with Tim from the Late Reviews of one of my favorite songs of all time, Burned by The Cure. And man, I just had such a blast doing that. And I just loved the work that we put into that. And I still get chill bumps every time I hear Tim's solo, you know, at the end of the song. It really gives me chill bumps. So Tim, you did such a great job on that. But I will definitely post a card up here so you guys can see that, because I enjoyed the hell out of it. Another one would be one of my Horror Needs a Hero videos that I did with CP from Will I Like It Reviews. We did the best of the big three, which was his idea, awesome idea. And we talked about Michael, Freddy, and Jason. And just my portion alone was like 30 minutes. And I had a blast doing that. So I'll pop a card up here for that one too. Next question, favorite TV show of all time. When I was a child, it was The Incredible Hulk. And now, gotta be Game of Thrones. For me, nothing beats Game of Thrones. Favorite Walking Dead episode. You know, I wanted to like that last one a lot more than I did. It's usually the finales though. Usually the finales are pretty good on Walking Dead. But it's a tough question to answer, really. Like if you go Game of Thrones, then probably the Red Wedding. But I don't know if they have a Red Wedding episode for Walking Dead. Or at least one doesn't really come to mind right now. What is your favorite Batman story arc? I answered this one earlier. He did make mention of Under the Red Hood. So I definitely need to check that one out because I've heard good things about it. Next one is from the Taco Sheep. He's got an F, Marry, Kill question. Awesome, I love those. And it's Jason, Freddy, or Michael. All right, so I'm gonna marry Michael, F Jason, and I'm gonna kill Freddy. Yeah, that's it. What are some of your favorite bands? Well, I've mentioned this before, but as you know, I'm a big metalhead. I like metal music, but I like all types of music really. And Prince, who just died today, actually, I'm still just processing that. I don't even know how to deal with that right now. But yeah, Prince, I grew up loving Prince. He is just a master musician. Also, I like Kings of Leon. I like The Killers, As I Lay Dying, Deftones, The Cure, and Joy Division. Those are definitely my favorite bands, aside from Tool. Next question is from Tyshawn Anderson, and he says, what other horror franchise will you review after Nightmare on Elm Street? I'm not sure yet. I've given this a lot of thought, and I'm not sure that I'll dive directly into one and not jump into another one, because I'm planning on doing a Texas Chainsaw one, and I'm planning on doing Scream soon. So I guess those would be the best answers right now. But I'm really impulsive with my reviews, and anything can happen. In your opinion, do you think this generation needs a new slasher icon? Yeah, I do. And it's a tough thing to create, it really is. And I don't know what it was about the 80s that made 3, or arguably 4 or 5. But I don't know why in this decade we can't come up with a true icon, you know, A-level icon. But that's kind of what Horror Needs a Hero was all about. We were talking about that very thing, that we don't have an icon today like we did, you know, back in the 80s. Next question is from Fahid Khan, and he wants to know, where did you meet your wife? I met my wife in Denver, Colorado. We were both in the military, and we've been in love ever since. Is there any movie you watch at least once every year? Of course, Halloween. I try to watch Pulp Fiction every year. Classics like Jaws, especially Star Wars. Lord of the Rings, I watch once every year. Usually a Fincher movie, some kind of Fincher movie I watch every year. There's a lot of movies that I watch every year, a lot of horror movies that I watch every year. Every Friday the 13th, I have to throw on a Friday the 13th movie. Oh, and that question was from Stig, by the way. His next question is, what is your opinion on Daredevil Season 2? Loved Daredevil Season 2. I thought it was really, really good. And I even did a review for that. I'll put a card on there for that. But yeah, I did a review for Daredevil Season 2. But yeah, I thought it was a great season. Best movie you've seen so far this year? For me, it was Batman vs. Superman. I know it had problems. Now that I've let it digest, yeah, I admit that there were problems. But overall, I still just love that movie. And I had a great time with it. Could it have been better? Yeah, I think it could have. But I stand by it. I loved it. Next question, Luke Huska, and he wants to know, do you like the classic Universal horror movie monsters? Yeah, of course. Especially Frankenstein. I thought Frankenstein is one of the greatest movies ever. Okay, next question is from my good buddy Bryan Lomax. As a matter of fact, in about an hour, we're going to be doing a commentary on The Lost Boys, because he does a commentary every Thursday with myself, Will I Like It Reviews, and Bearded Movie Guy. So yeah, that's going to be fun. But yeah, on a side note, check that out. I'll put a link to his channel. Every Thursday, usually, we do a commentary on a movie. And his first question is, do you have a previous background in films besides being a fan? No, I have no background aside from loving movies. Who would you pick to direct the Justice League if the studio were foolish enough to drop Snyder? I really just want Snyder to do it, but I would definitely, Christopher Nolan doing the Justice League would be really, really interesting. Next question, Nolan or Tarantino? Wow, that's a tough one. Talk about two very different directors. I can't answer that question. I think if I had to answer that question, I can't answer that question. They're both like dead even. I love both of them. Like every movie that comes out by either director, I have to go see it. So I can't answer that question. It's tough. I guess I would give a slight edge to Nolan because I think most of his movies are just perfection to me. Next question, which one of your videos are you most proud of and wish had more views? That was definitely that Cure drum cover that I did with Tim from the Late Reviews. Also my review for The First Crow, I think it could have more views. I really liked doing that review actually. And which one of your videos are you least proud of and are shocked by the large number of views? It's probably gonna be one of my older reviews. I used to do I did news updates for Halloween, and it's not that I'm not proud of them, it's just I guess I didn't put as much to those videos back then as I do now, and some of those have quite a big number of views. Actually, my first horror reviews that I did for the Halloween series, I would love to just go back and re-review all of those, because that was the mistake I made right when I first did this channel. I wanted to do reviews on Halloween, and I didn't know what I know now. So now I wish I could go back and put into those reviews what I did for these Nightmare reviews and even Friday the 13th. So, and I might even do that. I might do Halloween Revisited and do all my favorite ones like I did for part 6. I actually did a revisited review for part 6. Next question is from my good Belgian friend, the Culture Freak, and he wants to know favorite monster creature horror movies. The Descent was a good monster creature horror movie. Frankenstein, Godzilla. I'm a big fan of Godzilla and King Kong. King Kong 1976 with Jessica Lange was one of the first movies that I ever saw, and I loved that movie in it for nostalgic reasons. And that is one of my favorite monster movies. Question 2, favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movie? Gotta be Universal Soldier. I think Universal Soldier is his best movie for me. And I remember seeing in the theater his first movie, No Retreat, No Surrender, where he's the bad guy. and it is cheesy as hell. It's bad, but I remember really enjoying it when I first saw it. Question 3, Arrow Video or Scream Factory? I gotta go with Scream Factory. I just love all their slipcovers. I love everything that they put into their releases and all the behind the scenes stuff that they throw in there. And I just ordered Return of the Living Dead, which is coming out in July. Love Scream Factory, but yeah, I have nothing against Arrow Video either. Question 4, horror movies that you love but never hear much about. That's a tough one. I remember in the 80s I liked Trick or Treat, the one with Gene Simmons and Ozzy Osbourne, although it's not really that great of a movie. But you don't really hear anybody talking about that one. Also, I really like Sleepaway Camp, the first Sleepaway Camp, and that's one that you really never heard about for years and years and years. And it seems like it's kind of getting its just desserts now. Okay, next question is from Theo, from Theo's Movie Reviews, and he wants to know, does your family know you have a YouTube channel? Yes, matter of fact, my wife is the one that encouraged me to do this and pushed me to do it. And she's my best critic. She tells me if I'm messing up or if I'm not doing a great job on a certain review. She'll tell me, you could have done that better. And I usually listen to her. Have you seen American Psycho? One of my favorite movies of all time. Who's your favorite subscriber? I love all my subscribers. I do not have a favorite. They're all just great, great people. Who do you want to be in a Movie Mania episode? That's a tough one. I would say Art and Rami. Yeah, those two in the Movie Mania episode. That'd be interesting. Favorite pop to drink? Gotta be Mountain Dew. How did you come up with Drumdum Out? That's not something I'm really proud of. Everybody's got to come up with some kind of outro, I guess. And it was just something I kind of just pulled out of my whatever. And yeah. Who's your favorite YouTuber? Oh man, that's a tough one. I will say that the first one that really I just couldn't wait to go to his videos was John Flickster. John Flickster is just really, really entertaining. Okay, next question is from Matt the Collector, and he wants to know, do you collect any horror magazines? No, I used to look at Fangoria when I was younger, in my younger days, but I don't buy them, and I usually look at everything online now. Do you have any Robert Englund films that are non-Freddy Krueger related? No, I don't. I don't think I do. I know he was in Urban Legend, and I don't own that one, but yeah. What was the first actual horror film that you laid eyes on? I don't know the name of the movie. I just remember I was being babysat, and I saw this figure of like demonic eyes on the TV, and I remember I started crying. And I was maybe like 3 years old, 2 or 3. That's one of my first memories actually of when I was a kid of horror movies or movies in general, really. Did you ever see any of the episodes of Freddy's Nightmares? No, I did not. I'm not a fan of putting slasher icons on TV. I actually spoke about this when they were talking about putting Halloween on TV, and thank God they didn't. Next question is from Rowan Monroe. He wants to know, if you could have Ridley Scott direct his next stunning visual masterpiece, what live comic book adaptation would you choose? That's a tough one because I don't really see Ridley Scott doing comic book adaptations. But if he directed one, I would definitely watch it. He's one of my favorite directors. Actually, this just came to me. I was thinking if he did a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I think that would be pretty cool. Next question is from my good buddy Durant, from Durant Cinema, and he wants to know, if you could replace yourself with any actor from any movie, what movie would that be? Boy, if that's not a loaded question. I see what you're doing there, Durant. I'm not falling for it. Probably Richard Pryor in Brewster's Millions. Okay, I think I answered all the questions from this particular video, from my 2,000 subscriber video. So now I'm gonna go over to the other video. I think I got a couple more questions left, so here we go. Okay, my next question is from Zach's Drum Covers. He wants to know, do you plan to achieve success with your reviews, or do you see it as a service to other movie watchers? I think it's a little of both, or a lot of both. I do enjoy getting the comments back, especially the ones where they say, I was gonna go see this movie, but because of your review, I didn't. I think that is just the ultimate compliment. So yeah, I love that aspect of this. In my mind, I feel like I'm achieving success just by, just by all the great, kind comments I get from you guys. Next question is from TB Moviecom. Where do I get all my posters? Most of them I get on like Amazon, and sometimes I'll be at the mall, and if I see a good poster, I'll pick up one. But I would definitely say start with Amazon. and then go out from there. Next question is from Future Filmmaker 39480. Are you going to do a review of the X-Men series? I did X-Men Origins Wolverine recently, and yeah, I'll probably do some more. I'm definitely going to do Apocalypse that's coming out. What is your most disappointing movie of all time for you? That's a tough question. Recently, Point Break, I wanted that remake to be good, and it wasn't good at all. So that's the first one that comes to mind. I'm sure there's others. And what inspired you to do YouTube? You know, I just noticed that there was this community of movie lovers on there, and I think that's one thing that really got me into it. I remember watching Jeremy Johns and Chris Stuckman and all those guys. And also the guys from We Watched a Movie, Mike and Jay. They were the first ones that really like had me laughing out loud, like in stitches. And they just seemed like regular, normal dudes. And so I latched onto that, and it really made me feel like, hey, I think I could do this. So, and was it easy when I first started? Hell no, it was hard as hell. But you know, I'm glad I did it. Okay guys, that's it. That is the end of my 2,000 subscriber question and answer. Thank you so much guys for getting me here, and thank you for all the great questions. I really enjoyed a lot of the questions this time around. I'm looking forward to, you know, the next Q&A, whenever that's going to be. So anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and Letterboxd, and Drumdum out.